Good evening, everybody. Thank you for coming to this evening's Rave Late. Tonight is about kickstarting your film career. We've got a number of speakers, from independent filmmakers and directors to companies with a product and agencies, all about how they can give you an insight into the film career and how it can help you as an individual. Please turn off all mobile phones, and no recording of this evening as well. It's already been recorded, so it will be available to view online in a few weeks. I'm now going to hand over to Roger, who is going to talk to you about Snoovies. Thank you very much.
Hello everyone, thank you for having me. Can you all hear me all right? Yeah. Okay, brilliant. Today I'd like to talk to you about Snoovies, which is a company that I run with two other people out here, Viana and Karsten. Snoovies is all about short films. So we also brought along some of our friends, our filmmakers, and a company that we do some business with to talk to you about their experience of making short films and how that can help you kickstart your career. So just move to the next slide. That works. So what are Snoovies? Snoovies are basically mini movies. We're basically trying to rebrand the short film to make it appealing to watch whenever you have a couple of minutes to spare. Say you're on the tube, or you're waiting for a flight, waiting at a dentist, you just watch a mini movie, which we call Snoovies. We handpick them, and we package them in a magazine-style format. So every 2 months, we release a collection of these films that all share a topic or a genre, and we release them on iPad and iPhone. What makes our product quite different is these collections are available offline. So once you download a Snoovies issue, you can actually watch it even if you don't have Wi-Fi or 3G, which makes it quite convenient to watch whenever you have a couple of minutes to spare. Now, it's obviously targeted at film lovers, industry professionals, and filmmakers as yourself. And I'd like to show you a little bit of how it works. So basically, a film lover can download the film app, and it then appears in the iOS newsstand. They get a virtual shelf of available issues, and every issue is basically a magazine that contains short films. We have an opening editorial that shows you what the issue is about. Our last issue was Valentine's Day, so they were all films about love and relationships. You have a table of contents, and then every article within the magazine is a film. You can watch the film right on the page, and people can also submit ratings, see what they thought about the film, and share that with other viewers and the filmmakers themselves. But what we also do is we interview the filmmakers, which is quite interesting for you guys. We give you that additional exposure so that your audience can know who you are, what your vision was, and how the film came about. We try to videotape as many interviews as we can, and those videotape interviews can also be watched right on the page. What we also do is offer film lovers and industry professionals ways to reach out to you guys. So if you have a Twitter, if you have a Facebook, if you have your own website, people can click through to those pages right from the app and then get in touch with you, hopefully offering you another production or another job that they want you to do for them, or they just want to shout out and tell you, you're brilliant. And that's basically the Snoovies product. We went live in October. We've released 3 issues, and in those 3 issues, we featured a number of films. 3 of the films that we released on Snoovies, we actually invited the filmmakers here tonight. So we'd like to screen the films for you, and then introduce those filmmakers and get to talking about how they can help you kickstart your career. So I'm going to start with Kingdom Without a King from Richard Perry.
I guess it was my own fault, really. What do you want to be when you grow up? star, of course. I want to be what every young girl wants to be. Being famous is part of the job. But I never quite expected it to be like this. Of course, I embraced the attention like I prepared for it. But why does it have to be so overwhelming?
Room service.
Yes. Hi, it's room 432, and I'd, like to order a pizza, please.
Oh, it's Waterstone, good evening. I'm afraid I can't do that. We've been given a specially prepared menu for you, so if you select something from your list, our chef would be happy to oblige.
So, Alicia, how does it feel to win?
How does it feel? It feels great, of course. Something I've worked hard at my entire life. To finally feel rewarded. To finally feel as though my passion and dedication has been recognized. What kind of a question is, how does it feel? At the end of the day, how can I be the one to complain? I set off down this path. I wasn't told otherwise. I wasn't pushed. I wanted this for myself. I wanted to be in this world. I wanted to be a part of this profession. I guess as a person, though, I always want more.
Oh my God. Are you?
Yeah.
Oh my God, I just saw you win tonight. Oh, congratulations.
Thank you.
Would it be all right to get an autograph?
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Yeah, good. A pen. I need a pen. I'm sorry. Oh, thank you.
It's okay.
Thank you. So, any gossip? Hot boyfriend?
No, sorry.
No. Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you, and good luck, and thank you, good luck with everything. Thank you, thank you.
Most people are like, how did you get where you are? How did you do it? Half the time it's being in the right place at the right time. People say you're so successful. Successful? Most people measure success with the money in the bank, the amount of cars you drive. That's not success. Success is personal. Are you happy?
The second film will be Sucker Blood by Ben and Jake. Sorry, I forgot your last names, but you'll be introduced in a second.
sons that need lessons from stepmother's cane. Since punishment won't stop her thumbs getting wet, mother calls down a curse that the girl won't forget. Suck a blood, I beg you come to slaughter my daughter should she suck a thumb. And without any prayers, without being fed, up the dark stairs she's sent to her bed. Poor Tilly fears this house in the night. The monsters that live here have large appetites. She tries not to wake them. She creeps like a mouse and climbs to her room at the top of the house. Alone in her room, the candles grew dim. The wind howled and droned, and the monsters looked in. Tilly craved comfort and looked to her thumb, begging, sucker blood, please do not come. Felt her way back without any light. An evil was lurking, but when would it bite? Through a house full of shadows, Tilly tipped on her toes. We're reaching the study. Her tiny heart froze. For there lay her mother, and beside on the wall were written my words in a black, oily scrawl. What a clever young girl, not sucking your thumb. I could not eat you, so I've taken your mum.
The last film is I'm Christian Nicoli by Cyrus Dufford.
Can I tell you something? It happened to me a couple of years ago. I was in my regular internet cafe when a stranger sat down and started working on the computer next to me. After a while, he began huffing and puffing as he got frustrated with his mouse. He turned to me slightly and mumbled, "Crappy computers, eh?" I smiled back at him. He then perked up and said to me, "Listen to this. We both get 30 seconds to physically express our anguish at anything in this room. You go first." I was apprehensive initially, but I couldn't resist the challenge. So I stood up and turned my monitor to the side. He gave me this disapproving look, as if to say he was disappointed that I wasn't fully embracing the challenge. So I started throwing my papers around, jumping up and down in my chair, truly relishing this rare moment of feeling alive. The cafe owner looked on with caution as this befriended stranger and I laughed. 30 seconds were up, and now it was his turn. The first 10 seconds went by, and he just sat there. Another 10 seconds were about to elapse, and he still hadn't done anything. So I asked him, "How come you're not doing anything?" He said, "I only need the last 10 seconds to physically express my anguish to what you represent." Ten, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. My name's Krishna Kohli. And I'm gay.
We have another guest for you that is a brilliant platform for you guys to check out. It's a great way to hone your talent and get some great opportunities to work on some exciting projects. And I'll show you just a short video of what they're all about, and then we'll go into the Q&A.
Imagine if you could collaborate with the world's best creative talent, who are here on Talent House to work together and be seen by a truly global audience. A Talent House creative invite will bring your ideas to life and can grow your friends, fans and followers beyond your wildest dreams. Invite other creatives to collaborate with you on our free platform. See your projects spread around the world and pick the best talent to work with. Your creative invite is hosted on Talent House, and our technology empowers you to embed it on all your social media channels, blogs, and websites. Once all submissions are in, Talent House invites your friends and the friends of all participants and their friends to vote. And through our unique public voting process, your project goes viral. Talent House is being used by the world's biggest artists. Now it's your turn. And there's more. Talent House works with brands who are passionate about sponsoring the arts. They fund festivals, art shows, musicians, films, galleries, and designers, and they want to sponsor you. Based on the success of your project, Talent House can connect you with a brand partner to become your sponsor, directly empowering you to make money from making art. Welcome to Talent House, all creative.
I think we're ready for the Q&A.
Brilliant. Right, if you could welcome our guests onto the stage. If anyone has any questions, just hold on for a little bit. I'll ask a few questions and think about them, and then we'll quick fire some questions at them. So if you'd like to come and take a seat. Okay, trying to make this not feel like yours to be a millionaire. Does anyone have anything they want to say about their? Well, we'll start with you. Do you want to start about your? Talk about your.
What do you want me to say?
How did it come about? How did you come about making it? Why did you want to make it?
Just a short intro. That's Richard Perry of the first film.
Yeah.
Well, that's a good question actually. I mean, it came about really because I wrote the script about maybe a couple of years before we made the film. And I've just finished a feature, and I'd never used the workflow of 35mm before. So when I was just sort of like investigating the cinematographers and things like that, and a friend of mine, Phil Mayhew, who photographed the picture, and I said to him, I've got a really small project that I just wanted to make, and wondering if he could photograph. And he said, yeah, great. So it was actually not a great story, but it was more about testing the workflow more than anything.
Yeah. And am I right in saying that the actress you had is the actress from Hollyoaks?
Yes.
Yeah. How did that come about?
When I was looking at casting, I really wanted to sort of like to get someone who was in the media as perceived as glamorous and just sort of flip it in a contrast way. But I literally just, I contacted her agent and I just said, oh, I've got this short film, I'd love Emma to be a part of it, could she do it? And she read it and she really wanted to. I think from her perspective, she was sick and tired of being known as, you know, on Hollyoaks, and she wanted to expand her career and, you know, do films and theatre and stuff like that. So it was sort of like the right timing for her to do a project like this, really.
And in your little introduction that was online that we all got sent, it says that you don't just do short films, you also do music videos and sports promo. How do you balance doing all these various different types of films?
Well, I hate to say it, but I mean, like, the promos, commercials, and the sport identities aren't really, you know, what I'm passionate about. Is storytelling and creating short films and writing features and that kind of development. But I sort of, the way that I got started was I was a runner in music promos for a long time. So that was my ability to, you know, pay rent, pay bills and stuff like that, whilst I can focus on writing my own material and things like that. But when it came to, you know, further down the line with the music video side of things, it was a great opportunity to practice your craft more than anything. It's a good way of testing things out without, you know, screwing up the entire project, because promos are very artistic and you can just sort of change things around quite a lot.
And you've spent a bit of time in Los Angeles doing script development.
Yeah.
Tell us a bit about that.
I was fortunate to work with the Xanax, who Richard was Tim Burton's old producer, and his son Dean, who I got on very well with. They've got a slate of independent films, and they never make anything. But what I was doing with them was I was more developing with the writers, going through themes like structure. And I don't know whether any of you are writers, but Hollywood's very like structure orientated. This happens on this page, this happens on this page, and it was more about formatting it in that sense and looking at the characters and that kind of thing.
Brilliant. So you seem to get all sorts of work. Is it all freelance, or do you have an agent, or is it?
No, I mean, I don't have an agent, but a lot of it is through networking and meeting people. That's the only really way to get jobs, you know. Through a lot of the film side of things, it spawned off one person, and then he would invite me to some event, and I'd meet another person, and then, you know, I'd work with Phil on Saturday Smash. And then from that, I met someone else, and then, you know, you just sort of build a rapport that way.
Yeah.
And that's how you get work more than anything. And the BBC side of things was, I think, I edited some live event, and then I was speaking to the cameraman, and he was saying, oh, I need, you know, a director to do all these ideas for all these shows and stuff. Showed him a couple of short films, and then from there I was just doing a lot of the, you know, like when you have like an opening idea for I don't know, the World Cup or something like that, you know. So it's just literally just from seeing someone who's part of the industry and talking to them and getting to know them. Really.
Yeah. And when it comes to networking, are there certain events or places to go that are just useless, or what would you say that the best kind of networking places to go along to?
Well, it's strange enough because a lot of my contacts have come randomly more than anything. Like, I met Richard Zanuck at Wimbledon just because I saw him in the crowd, and I just thought, oh, I've got to talk to him. Or that event, the live event that I met the cameraman that I did with the BBC work for, it was, I can't even remember, I think it was some sort of Pink Floyd tribute band or something, and a friend of a friend, and I just, you know, went there and he was there, and it's just, and you can see, I mean, where I live, like around sort of East London, so many people are shooting so much stuff that you can just go up to there and talk to them, you know. And I was in New York, and I remember Brett Ratner was shooting a segment from New York, I Love You, and so, you know, you follow the electric cables to the big fat trucks, and you see who's who, and, you know, if you know sets well, then obviously you can pinpoint who are the ADs, who are all that kind of stuff, and just start talking to them, say, you know, I want to do this and do that, and then you just exchange numbers, and then it's all that kind of stuff. I mean, it takes time, but it's worth it, you know, if you can get the work done, you know.
And with so many people making films these days, do you find it hard to be noticed, be seen, you know, get your creative voice out there? Or?
I think so, yeah. I mean, it's really tricky, like with shorts, because, you know, depending on whether they're self-financed or they're financed through other means, you're making filmmaking, costs a lot of money, and we're short, so it's very difficult to sell that or to recoup the money back even, And so when you've got so many people that are so talented and that can do things off, a Canon 5D, and then, we were lucky we got film stock for free, but that should have cost a lot of money, and then people wanting to make these films, but then it's just kind of like you want the money back because obviously you're self-financed, but it's really difficult, and you can upload to Vimeo and YouTube and stuff like that, but then you're not getting any money back from that. But there's a lot of online distribution companies now, I think, that are trying to get shorts distributed like Distrify and stuff like that. So.
Well, no, Ben and is it Jake? Yeah, you at the end of your film, it said that you got funding through Indiegogo. How is all four of you are film producers as well as directors. How did you go about finding your money for your film?
Okay, so Jake and I are we're filmmakers, but we also are part of a collective called Bloody Cuts, which is an online film series. And hopefully some of you will be familiar with it. We've had a lot of views across 9 films that we've made, and they've all been funded by crowdsourcing, so Kickstarter and Indiegogo. And I think the real success for us there was finding a niche. So finding this, because none of us are particularly horror orientated, but we've made 9 horror films collectively, and by having that kind of focus, we managed to raise money, whereas I think if we were making something more general, maybe we wouldn't have been able to raise as much. But I think it goes back to what Richard was saying, that these films are expensive to make. A lot of it's self-funded, a lot of it's funded from friends and family and from very generous friends of friends. And some of the money comes from places like Indiegogo and Kickstarter, but not all of it. But I think the end goal for us in making these films was not to recoup the money and not to raise all the money we needed to make the films, but was actually to embrace the challenge of making a film for not very much money at all. And hopefully our film looks like it has high production values, but it was made on a really shoestring budget, and it called in a lot of favours, and all of our equipment and things were for free. So I would say that I think my point is making short films for us is for the experience of making films and for getting content produced, because otherwise what are you doing, with your time except twiddling your thumbs waiting for something to happen, and for the exposure that they bring, hopefully. Did I actually make a point?
But yeah, so you talk about the experience of making film. What's it like, you two working so closely together, doing the directing, the writing, the editing?
It's hell. It's me and Ben have been the best of friends for a long time, haven't we, Ben? Say yes.
Yeah.
There's proof. The two of us, we actually met at acting school. We come from a maybe a different background and environment. Shall I give you a brief history about where we've come from?
Why not?
Yeah. Thank you very much. I'll blather on. You tell me when you're bored. So, 2001, we were 2001. We were at acting school together in Guildford, and I know you wouldn't believe it, but we had girlfriends back then, didn't we? They lived together, and so we spent a lot of time in the same house. We used to have curries, and they used to watch Sex and the City, and He's Not That Into You, and all those real classics. And they would weep, and we would tear the film to shreds, wouldn't we? And I think that was kind of a meeting of minds. I thought, oh, here's someone who shares, a similar taste, and I think that's important. A collaboration and finding people who you feel on the same wavelength and you think share the same ideals, the same direction, and the same passion is hugely important, especially in a competitive industry where sometimes you can feel like you're going up against each other. And I think that's important to bear in mind. And everyone in the room here, sorry to say it, I hope it's not the case, but a lot of you might be finding work for each other. That most of the work I think that we've had inside directing and inside acting and inside illustration and the various jobs that we do have come through people who we know, who we've worked with before, who can't do the jobs themselves and go, I tell you what, have a look at this guy. So you know, it's really important, I guess, just to carry a team of people with you who are happy to do things for free for you and who can throw a bit of work your way.
It's something that I know is kind of a common theme for us among us students here. Do you all live in London? And if so, or if you do, if you don't, you know, do you survive being a filmmaker living in London, or what do you do?
Show of hands, who lives in London?
Yeah, I do now, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Tell you know, when did you not live in London?
I thought about quite a lot. I came to London Film School, and then I went back to Reading. That's where I'm originally from, and then started working from Reading, coming into London, and then I came back to London, didn't get any work, so I went back to Reading, and then I was getting work again, so then I came back to London, and then I got a job offer in America, so then I went over there, and then I came back to Reading, and then I was getting more work, so I was coming into London, and as soon as I moved to London, I stopped getting work, and now it's picked up again, so it's like now I'm in London, but yeah, it helps a lot because when I was from Reading coming back into London, it was just a nightmare, you know, just a meeting would take up your entire day.
Yeah, yeah.
So.
And would you say it's essential, being in London?
I think it is, if you can make your rent, yeah. That's the tricky part.
But yeah, Cyrus, tell us a bit about your film.
Well, the film originated, just like these two, I come from an acting background as well. Actually, I come from finance. I started working in the city at the age of 16 as a T-boy, quit 2 years ago, went into acting for a year, and then made my first short, which was that last May. I heard Christian, he's hiding somewhere, there he is. He performed this monologue, actually just off the top of his head, in this workshop, and I just thought it was just like, you know, I was completely dumbfounded. It was really, really powerful. So I chased him for like a year to say, hey, let's put this on camera. And he came to me last April, like, you know, he was like, okay, let's do it. And, you know, this is the first time I'm making a film. You know, didn't really know what I was doing. It was much more just on instinct, you know. And I think that's the best way to make films, personally. You know, you can sometimes, like, you can storyboard something, you can have a really tight pre-production, but I feel you lose the soul of the film, which is really the real gold. So for me now, it's about striving that balance, find that balance between the technical side, which I'm learning much more, but, you know, also keeping like the essence of you know, what connects the audience to the film.
So, where do you go next, seeing as, you know, directing for a career but keeping your own, you know, creative grooves? You know, how do you see yourself going forward next?
Well, basically, I self-finance all my films. I mean, this one didn't cost much; it cost £100 to shoot. But my recent films have cost, you know, a couple of grand each or something, which is still quite small for a short film. But I have a job in IT sales, which I work part-time. The reason why I do it, you know, I could go the whole Kickstarter route or whatnot, but, you know, I can't bother to wait. Really, like, I just want to make it. And I want to pay my crew as well, because I demand a lot from anybody who I work with. You know, if you commit to come to set, then give everything, because otherwise you're not just wasting my time, but more importantly, you're wasting yours. So if I'm going to demand that much, then I need to pay, you know, and pay something decent. Good food, expenses, whatever, you know, because then they'll work for you. So that means I need to work. So yeah, but in terms of the future, I do all these shorts, I don't do them to make money. I do them to learn my craft, to hone it in, again to try and find that balance between technical and instinct, and then hopefully move on to a feature.
So last year your film was voted in the top 100 of pieces of art in London. When that happened, did you find you got a certain amount of interest from producers, or how did that affect your career, and are things like that getting noticed in these kind of brackets? Is that something people should be aiming for? Or?
I mean, someone asked me, I was speaking to someone the other day, and they were so focused on distribution, and I was just like, you're missing the point. Like, the fruit will bear itself. Just focus on the product. The second you start, thinking about distribution, this DVD cover will work best because, that's what gangster genre films want. I don't even believe in genre. If anyone asks me, are you a genre filmmaker? No, I'm not. I just try and make honest work, whatever that falls into. So just focus on the product and the fruit will always bear itself. It's in the doing. The second you do that, the other way, you've lost.
And Ben and Jake, I mean, you've got over 100,000 hits on YouTube for your film. Did that bring any attention from certain people?
Yeah, it's actually over like 250,000 across YouTube and Vimeo on our film, which is an achievement we couldn't have done by ourselves. I mean, we kind of have a similar kind of attitude. We really focus on the work. I'm sure everyone is. We love making films, we love making art, and we're really passionate about the things we do. We're not necessarily the world's best promoters or self-promoters, as a lot of artists aren't, I would say. But we're very lucky to work with a collective of people who are very focused on producing and pushing out and getting our work seen. And they did a marvellous job across their own website and across social media channels of pushing our film out, and it got seen by a lot of people. And actually, for Bloody Cuts has actually transformed into a lot of success. Bloody Cuts are now, they're penciled to make two features and a web series and a TV series in the UK. And so it's actually, the fruit has started to grow, and all because of their industry and hard work in pushing the film out. And I would say Jake and I are still just really happy that people are watching it. I mean, that was always our aim, and our dream is for people to see our work and not hate it, really.
And at a level like this, is this something Talent House can also help, or is Talent House more for emerging films that have yet to find an audience? Or
No, absolutely. I mean, Talent House is there for anybody, all sort of levels of their career, looking to access opportunities, get funding, sponsorship, whatever it may be to grow your social footprint. It's a place for you to sort of host your work that brands are checking into, that like-minded professionals and like-minded filmmakers, casting people, music producers who may want to work on a film with you or something like that are all tuning into to look, everybody's after the same kind of thing. So at whichever level you're at, there'll be, an abundance of other people who are at the same kind of level looking to achieve those things, either with you or support you in doing so.
Brilliant, thank you. Sorry, just a question that I wanted to ask before. Richard, seeing as you've kind of worked on both sides of the Atlantic, have you come across many egos, and if so, are there room for egos in the industry anymore? Or?
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of egos. Yeah, not necessarily. I mean, is there any Americans here? No? Excellent. Okay, because they've got a lot of egos. English producers or directors or anything that I've met or worked with in the UK, a lot of them are very level-headed and straight to the point, which is great. But yeah, across the pond here, it's just a bit. They're very much. I don't know what the word is really. Yes, they're really good practice. I don't want to say too much here. It's a bit of trouble.
Would you say an ego can kickstart someone's career, or is it?
I think, I mean, there's a very fine line between confidence and what's it called, the other one? Yeah, being an arsehole, you know. And I've seen directors be an arsehole, but at the same time, it doesn't matter how you get there, as long as what you get on screen is what you want. And sometimes I've seen it where they've had to be. And, you know, you half respect it, but at the same time you say, well, you don't have to do it like that, or whatever. I've seen directors kick sets, and the art department have had to spend another 3 days building it. And you could argue, oh, he's making a point, but at the same time, well, the art department's now got to rebuild, so.
Yeah.
And that, I just on that point, I was lucky enough for my first ever acting job to get a commercial. It was a Pepsi commercial, and the first day I turned up on set, I heard someone shouting, and they were really getting into the wardrobe department. They were having an absolute, I'd say, hissy fit, screaming about there not being enough. I walked into this sort of wardrobe department, and it was just wall to wall with clothes, and I'd never seen so many clothes in my life. And the director was absolutely tearing strips off her. She was crying, and she was told it wasn't good enough. She had to come back the next day. This was, I don't think we're getting in trouble, but it's the director of. Yeah, you can bleep that out. Thank you. Stuff with heart and soul. And he was just and to pick up on that point, there is like he was so full of self-belief and confidence, and he was great. He was absolutely, he was great at what he did, and he was a technical director, I guess. And I remember one bit of advice to me he gave, and I'll always remember this, was on a hard shoot we were trying to get this one shot where we had to drink a can of Pepsi, and the other actor with me said, I'm not quite, I don't really know what you want here. What am I thinking of? And he turned to us and said, I don't give a about your motivation, drink the goddamn Pepsi. Carry that with me today. He was a real force of nature, and I think sometimes you maybe need that when you have that team of people who are under you. So, and not below you, not beneath you, but you are the head of the ship, and I guess it's helpful to have confidence in your leaders.
Yeah, I'll just make a quick point, but I remember doing something, and an actor, the one thing you always say, like, if an actor does a really bad take, you never just say to them, you'd be better. But I remember I had a really good relationship with one actor, and he did something terrible, and I was like, oh, can you, do you want me to just do better, Rich? Yeah. But just following on from what he said, sometimes you can just nip it in the bud, get rid of all the bullshit, and just get straight to the point, so.
And talking about egos, sorry, just one quick point is that it also works the other way. Like we must, I guess, learn to develop a thick skin and not be crushed if we make something that's not what we hoped it would be. Because it is a confidence game, it is a confidence trick, and you have to believe enough so that other people do. And if you make 10 films, they're not going to be 10 stunners maybe, and we mustn't really, we mustn't be our own worst enemies and really just beat ourselves up about it, which I'm terrible about doing. So. That's more advice from myself.
I've got nothing to say.
Nothing to say. Next question.
So when, because I know there's a lot of camera arts, DOPs, editors, graders, all sorts in the crowd. Is it as you as directors that source your crew, or do you often, will you sort of hire a DOP and the DOP will sort the rest, or how do you go about assembling a crew?
Well, we inherited some of our crew from the collective, from people we know. We did a lot of jobs ourselves. I'm quite a hands-on person. I like to have control over stuff, and that might be to detriment sometimes of the film. But I think that I don't remember who said it, but I think it might be Richard. Is that you start to meet people, as you work more. Either on film jobs or corporate jobs or advertising jobs, you start to meet a group of people that you trust, and I think that's the vital part, is that you work with people you know. So even if you do appoint a DOP, that if he says, oh, I want to choose my camera, that you trust that decision because they've worked together and they have a dynamic together. I would say that for me is not just relying on other people to be great. because it's your production, and I think that's where a level of control is really important. So even if you are handing a job over, which is really important, to let go and hand over a job and trust someone's skill, that you do at least know and trust them already, and you have faith in their ability. Well, not just their ability, but their match with your own, or your own opinion and style of working. Yeah.
I think, well, I source my crew myself. I think your crew is everything. You know, even more important than your cast, like the harmony in between your crew really will determine, in my opinion, the outcome of your film. You know, if everyone's, I always like to have a kind of open forum on my film, but within a certain structure. So for example, acting direction will always come from me. However, you know, if my DOP sees something acting-wise he doesn't like, he will then tell me, and then I will tell the actor. Because sometimes, because I trained as an actor, hearing acting direction from another crew member, and it has happened, is quite undermining. And you know, the key to great acting in films is to be open. And to be open requires a certain amount of vulnerability. So you need to make people feel comfortable about it. I mean, Fassbender says that, you know, the key to being acting is to be relaxed. And that starts with the crew. I choose the DOP dependent on the kind of aesthetic I'm going for the film. Yesterday I directed a promo and I used a DP, which my friend Tim Porter, he's worked with, who's very good at just, you know, basic guerrilla filming, you know. But then I might use somebody else who's, I don't know if you use the word anal, in terms of for a project that we need to pay much more attention to detail. But your crew's everything, absolutely. And I always try and work from post to pre in terms of crew. So I know my grader, Joseph Bicknell, before we shoot. I know who's editing before we shoot. I know who I'm using for VFX before we shoot, for sound design. Yeah.
Anyone else to?
I'd just like to add one more thing, which is I really personally feel that you don't need to be brilliant at everything, and I think maybe people on this panel will disagree with what I'm about to say, but I think you should at least get your hands wet a little bit in every role of a production. I think you should have an understanding, at least basically, of what it involves and how it works. I'd even go as far as to say, your first film, I'm sure you've all made a film, but your next film, why not try and do everything yourself and see, you know, how that comes out? Because I think when you have an understanding of the job, the role, and how important it is, you find that you have a respect for it, and I think you get better results even when you hand it over to someone else. I'm a real advocate for, you know, for DIY filmmaking, for just getting out and shooting something and doing everything yourself, even though it'd probably be a terrible thing.
And where does the line come in between the director getting what he wants but trusting someone else's creative talent or knowledge? Like, you know, say as a sound person, you know, where is the line? Where do you?
Yeah, you never question a sound person. They just tell you what. It's really funny because people are really particular about their jobs, and they're very fastidious often, and they have a certain way of working, and quite, you know, I'm sure everyone's been told off by a camera off, you know, for touching the camera or like for trying to move it and go, just put it here, and like, you get told off for that because it's not your job, and I think maybe if you're going to trust someone to do the job, then let them do it. But at the same time, as a director, as a producer, as someone who has a vision, you're constantly trying to like just make sure you steer it your way. But I think at some point you have to let go, right? And you have to understand that making a film, eventually when you make a bigger film, you don't make it on your own. And if you are going to trust people, then you have to, and understand that it might not be the exact film you intended to make, but it may even be a better one for it. Stop it.
I think what he said was a really good point. I actually think editors should train as actors as well for a short period of time. The reason why a good edit, you know, at least from an artistic standpoint, you need to find the beats. And if you don't have a natural, and when I talk about instinct a lot, the derivative of a gut instinct, a lot of people talk about, is sensitivity. So you need to develop your sensitivity, and a great way to develop sensitivity, if you're not naturally sensitive, is through acting. A recent short that we did, it's the first film actually I haven't done the edit. We gave it to an editor, and technically it's brilliant, but the first cut he gave back, I was like, oh my god, this, you know, it was horrific. And I must have gone back on maybe 13 emails, because he was located in Hampshire, with 30 paragraphs per email. So that's around 330 points of cut to this frame, cut to that frame, because he had never known about, you know, he's just being used to editing corporates or promos. So he doesn't have that feel for, you know, when you need to hold the moment or when you need to cut it. And, you know, actually cut to the exact frame. You know, and if you need to time stretch something, do it. You know, so learn about art direction, you know, it's imperative to good shot composition. You know, an art director, one of the #1 names on my team sheet. So learn about all these different roles. I think it's a great one.
So is there anything Talent House does in terms of helping people find a crew, or is it purely sort of getting the films out there?
It is. I mean, aside from being a tech platform and, you know, a space to access sort of jobs and opportunities, we are a co-creation sort of collaborative platform for you to sort of, you know, artists can plug into other artists, they can work with brands, leading professionals, you know, they can get their work seen by directors and whatnot. So whoever it is that you're looking to collaborate with, there's somebody on Talent House that you will more than likely be able to find and match yourself with. So we run things called Creative Invites, which is actually how we came to find Snivvies, which is where creatives can launch their own initiatives, and that, you know, may be a call out to find somebody to do your music, or someone to find, you know, a member of your cast and things like that. So that is one of the branches and one of the sort of avenues you can explore in terms of getting your project off the ground. It's almost a vehicle, if you like, to sort of empower you to sort of build these films and produce these great things by yourself, and, you know, with people, you know, whether you've got that in your natural circle or not, it doesn't really matter, because that's what Talent House is for.
And one quick plug, we actually have a creative invite on Talent House to create a snoovie for the next issue.
Indeed.
A short snoovie. You only have 7 days left, but I know you guys like a challenge. I would love to see some of your work, so check it out. And
themed as well. So, what's that like a theme?
to make a snoovie, a comedy snoovie, a funny short film for the next issue, like these guys.
And so when you guys make a film, do you know exactly how you're going to launch it? Do you know exactly it's going to go festivals or internet, or you know, or do you often take up challenges like the one just pitched to us now? Do you often interact with that, or do you always know what's going to happen with your film?
At the moment, it's just really release it online, plug it like crazy, and then take it offline, send it to festivals, and try and use Google webmaster tools to get rid of every URL possible. And yeah, just basically have it on the festival circuit, and, you know, after that, distribution. But yeah, the plugging is good. I think it's a good way of getting people to see films, really.
Yeah.
Yeah, the first film we ever made was for a competition, for the Sci-Fi London 48-hour competition, and we won that. But it was that's not why we didn't think we were going to win, and we just entered because it was a reason to make a film. And it's one of those ones where you have to make it in 2 days and submit it, and then we for us, we're not short on ideas, we just seem to be short on time, and because of that balance between earning a living and having a life and making the things you want to make in your spare time, if you like. So for us, it was a good impetus to actually make stuff, and I think those things are all really cool. I think the Snoobies, like that's really cool. A reason to make a film, and if there's a reward at the end, great. Yeah, I would say in that respect, yeah, we have a kind of idea of where it's going to go, because quite often we make them for something or for someone. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought you might want to speak. Just to reiterate the same point, yeah, the competitions they do seem to pique our interest, and they are something that get you out there and doing it. And this is something I think probably none of us are short. I don't think on the creative aspect, on finding a team. We want to make films. The hard things to find producers, I think we've struck, we struck gold a bit with Bloody Cuts, because we had people who knew exactly how they were going to market. They'd built an online community, they'd built like a genre fan base. They had writers and bloggers who were writing about their next project. So they created a huge amount of momentum, and that is the thing I think that certainly Ben and I we could improve and we constantly work on. Is being salesmen, and I kind of hesitate to say it, but it's all very well and good having a good product, but if it doesn't have great packaging and it's not getting out there, then it's, what do you do with it? What do you do with it? And that's something we're all going to have to find out for ourselves, I guess.
And that's something that that's something Talent House is also quite good for. I mean, where the community is so engaged and everybody's searching for the same thing, everybody sort of scratches each other's back, and it is to be used as a marketing tool for people to promote their work, which is why when we have things like sponsorship and funding, what people are looking for when they want to get behind you and start backing your work is that you yourself are behind your work, and you yourself are actually, actively promoting it, and trying to get it out there in some way, shape or form, whether that's through social, whether that's through, film festivals or whatever it may be. That is something that, we sort of try and facilitate those relationships and give you the tech to distribute it through all your channels, as the video said.
Just one last question on the same topic for you, Richard. Did having a known actress, a regular TV actress in your short film, did that promote your film? Did that launch it and grow its audience more? Or?
Yeah, I'd say so. To be short. I mean, they say that three things sell a film: it's poster, trailer, and who's in it. It did help massively, but I mean, for me, from a directing point of view, I think your cast is everything, because they're the ones that are telling the stories. Yeah, obviously the script is more than anything, but if they're not bringing it to life, then no one's going to really understand it or feel it or anything like that. So yeah, no, she was a big help actually.
Yeah. Right. Does anyone in the audience have any questions they'd like to ask? Is there a hand over there? Joe?
Yeah. This is for Ben and Jake. Fantastic job on creating the Who's There competition. I'm very proud of that. I was wondering how that came about. Like how much planning. So you worked with judges on board. Who are notable in the film and web.
Yeah, so the Bloody Cuts Who's There film challenge is what the gentleman is referring to. And it's come from the momentum of the Bloody Cuts kind of product as a whole. I mean, Bloody Cuts started after, we all met after the sci-fi competition. We'd all made films in it, and we met at a networking event. And the idea originally was to make 13 short horror films as a series, just to make films, because we were all working as content producers of some kind, motion graphic designers, editors. We were all making things, and we decided it was time that we made films, and we got noticed, and we got these things. So then, after that was quite successful and got quite a lot of attention, we actually started to get inroads with a lot of companies and people who could provide some kind of sponsorship for something like a film competition. But the actual competition came about because Ben and Anthony, who are the sort of top producers of Bloody Cuts, went to LA and they had got an agent and they met and they had meetings, and the idea was that they should really leverage the community they'd started to develop. And one way to do that is actually to kind of give back to the community, because a lot of the people who watch the films and comment and tweet them and share them are filmmakers themselves. And so the concept was, well, look, anyone can make films. Not anyone can make great films, but anyone can make films and be doing them. Let's encourage the community, no matter how what their background or what stage they're at, to submit films and to do what we're doing and show that it can work. And I think it was really successful. I mean, Jake and I sat through 250 films judging them, and that was a long night. And there were some incredible entries, and it's really great to see that there is a community of people out there making stuff. And I would say the film's a big success. The film competition is a big success, and and that's kind of how it came about. Did I answer your question?
Yeah.
Cool.
Anyone else with any questions? Yeah.
Just want to ask, do you think that sometimes when you make a film, it's good to just put it on YouTube and get views that way, or get recognized, or just take a festival? Sometimes it will take like 1 year, years to get anything out of festivals.
I think it's a really interesting question. I mean, I think what we're noticing now is that the trend is changing slightly. We were talking about this before we came out tonight. That festivals used to not accept films if they had been on YouTube or online, but actually they're starting to change, and I think there's a shift happening because they're starting to realise that it's a legitimate way of people seeing your work, and there doesn't seem to be much point in it doesn't degrade your film in any way by having it been seen already. I don't know what the strategy is. I think just putting it on YouTube and doing nothing doesn't work, personally. I think you'll end up getting 10 views that way. I think you have to work really hard to get people to see a film, especially a short film that might be over 5 minutes long. People don't have attention spans anymore, and if it's about a cat, falling off the washing machine, then people will watch it. But if it's not, it's really difficult. And I would say look to yourselves, because everyone expects everyone to watch their film, but do you watch anyone else's? Do you watch films? Hopefully the answer is yes, and hopefully we all do. But sometimes you're busy and you don't want to watch the whole film, or you skip past it. And there's this whole argument at the moment that watching films online is not a controlled experience. That it used to be that if you played your film in a cinema, you had a captive audience, you could control how it was viewed, you could control the way it was projected, and you can't do that online. People might be watching your film on the train, on their phone, small screen, but that can't be an excuse. It has to be, you have to make films for that medium now. And so I think do put it on YouTube, but push it as hard as you can, and then don't do what Cyrus does. Like if they say you can't have put it on YouTube, delete every remnant of history, get it in the festivals, but don't give up. Get people to see it, because otherwise what's the point?
Anyone else? Yeah.
So this is for all of you. When did you guys, when you were doing your first shorts, when did you kind of stop yourself from polishing it up and say, right, I'm going to put it up now, because the longer you spend on it, the better it looks. So when did you stop yourself and just carry on working?
It's a good question. With this short, I remember 6 days into the edit, and I was just like, this is the biggest piece of crap I've ever made. And so we started again. My problem is I'm really, really, really picky to the point where I'm being picky, then I'm reverting, then I'm going back, I just think what I like to do is basically, when I think I've got a final cut, I'll export a low-res version and I'll watch it maybe 30, 40, 50 times by myself, because I think it's only when you watch the film as a whole you can see how it's ebbing and flowing, where things can be trimmed and whatnot. And then I put it online, and then At that point, I'll probably watch it more times. I'll be like, oh, that could have been done. But that's when I let it go. But I think that's one thing I've definitely learned is that when you think you've got a final cut, watch it so many times that you're sick of your film, because then you really start seeing the bits which need correcting, whether it's colour correcting or I don't know, time stretching or cutting frames or stuff like that.
I would say the most effective way is set a date and tell someone else. Tell someone this is when I'm finishing my film, and then stick to it. You know, make a promise that you can't break. Because we're terrible, and we even have a film that we haven't finished that's like 4 years old because we had no reason to finish it, and so forever and ever you edit it. And I would say also I would argue maybe it doesn't get better the more you edit it. I think there's something to be said for instinct and for your original choices, and often you'll end up with a different film that maybe isn't better. But I would say the best way is for someone else to know when your deadline is and to have to stick to it.
Cool. I have this problem when I'm painting as well. When it's like an uneasy truce, you try and find yourself. You know, you have so many options, and for every film you get out there, there's 10 films with the same footage that you didn't make, right? And you sit there and it's analysis paralysis. You don't know. You can't see the wood for the trees anymore. You sat there and you have all these options in front of you, and I found this is really helpful, having someone next to you, so that you've got someone else to kind of go, have a look at this quickly. Just tell me, is that reading? Does that mean anything? Is that working for you? And I guess if you're on your own, this is it's an opportunity to crowd test, to try and get in front of your mum, your friends. Say, does anything not make sense for you? And because the things that you are worrying about are often nothing to do with what everyone else is seeing and what everyone else is struggling with when they watch it. It's just an uneasy truth. You have to find yourself. You have to step back, give it a bit of space, come back and see if it lives and breathes on its own yet. And and once you do step away from it, once you've been, I find for me it's longer than like a week or something. I don't know what's touching anymore. I don't know what's changed. I don't know what I've made anymore. It's kind of just, it is what it is, and that's when I give it to Ben.
For me it's different per project. I mean, that one, because we were on 35mm, we didn't have a lot of it, so I had to shoot to edit. So pretty much the editing process was laid out in the shots. But another project that I've done, I strongly recommend this personally, but you phone up every single filmmaker you've ever met or know or anything, and you get them all around your house and you watch it as a collective and you just talk about it for about 3 hours. Because they look at it for, complete fresh of eyes, and you've been staring at that computer screen non-stop for about 3 weeks or whatever, and you're just, does this work, does that work? You've got 10 different timelines or whatever, and that's just, what he was saying as well, that fresh set of eyes will really help, and so they're lucky they have to.
Anyone else?
Yeah. When you're sort of like tottering around thinking of ideas for like short films and stuff like that, what for you is like your first like big initial step to take? Because I know when I come up with an idea, I get all excited about it, and then I get a bit blurry, and I don't know where to go with it. I don't know what to do first. Like, what for you guys is like the first thing that you do to make it happen? It's like to bring it in the right direction.
I might as well start. For me, it's always the emotion with the person. I don't know how you get your ideas or anything, but you get the idea and then you format it into a story, a beginning, a middle, an end. And then from there you just keep reworking the script, or but that's kind of for me really. I mean, it's always the emotion of the character for myself, but I don't know about these people.
Yeah. Every idea I ever have is the best idea. This is it. See you later, suckers. I'm going to the big time, right? This is it. This is the winning idea. And then at some point, inevitably, I just completely lose love of it. I just don't think it's worth. I don't know what I saw in it. It's like you just look at it and go, really? Was that my big winning idea? And I think that happens for every single idea that I have. And the ones that I come back to after I've finished hating it and kind of go, oh, you know what? Actually, it's not bad. It's okay. I kind of still like it again now. those are the ones for me. So it's just getting through that process of loving it, hating it, and then deciding if you actually like it enough to spend that amount of time on it. And again, it's you know, I don't know what I'd do without Ben saying, no, that is crap, or go on and let's do it.
For me, it's quite simple, really. If I had the idea, I think a great way of finding ideas, first of all, finding idea stages, is just to listen to people's stories, because I don't know, like, everyone's got stories, and I've heard so many great ones. I think, man, I've got like a whole slate of films that I'd want to make. But as soon as the idea which really resonates with me, for me, it's straight. I'm thinking about just a proxy budget. If I want to script it or I want to improvise, then I'll get it onto paper. Or if it's improvised, I'll find the actors who I want and I'll start rehearsals. For a short I'm doing now, a 10-minute short, we've done 23 hours of rehearsal so far. Got another 2 on Saturday. My last short, which was 3 minutes long, the actors were on screen each for 45 seconds. We did 7.5 hours rehearsals. So I rehearse really solidly to find like the specific gradation of emotion. So stuff like that. Then you obviously got the crew side, so I think just jump straight into it. I mean, Steve McQueen said it, if you want to make a film, just go and do it. Otherwise you get into this whole faffing around, yeah, I want to do this, I want to do that, and it's just so unproductive. And by the time you know it's 3 months have passed, and you've got nowhere. The best way to learn is to do. Experience is the mother of intelligence.
Anyone else? Yeah, back there.
Hi, question for Richard. When you were in LA, did you find it easier to get work than in London? Was it less competitive or more competitive?
For me, it was. I got the job before I went, so for me it was all right, really. Because, but I met a lot of people that were struggling. A lot of people, and I don't know where anyone's been, but everywhere you turn, everyone's an actor, everyone's a director, everyone's a writer, everyone's a photographer. So I think the people that go there and think, oh, I'm going to get off the bus and be a star or whatever, is really not the way to go, because you will just end up falling in a pit depression, you know. So I was just lucky that I got it set up before I went out, really. And I think that's key. I mean, if you can make connections here that have connections out in America, then you can you email them here and you just say, oh, I'm coming out for a week, I'm going to set up all these meetings. And you set up all those meetings, and you go home, you don't hear from them for 2 months, and then you get a job out of the blue, so it's...
Make sure you're invited.
Yeah, that's what I think the trick is, really, is just get it sorted here. I mean, you can do it. I mean, you can find out companies' assistants' emails, addresses really quite easily, and you just send them, oh, I want to do this, this, and this, and half of them won't pay attention, but, out of 100 no's, you'll get one yes. So.
Yep. Yeah, you.
Do the mic or do I just speak?
Yeah, just speak loudly. Yeah.
This is for all you guys. It's picking up on what Richard just said, that LA is stuffed with people looking for work, and yet you're able to find everything you need through crowdsourcing, crowdfunding, basically using the internet as an asset. Do you think we're moving away from the old standard of production companies with a lot of money making movies about robots and Oscar bait to something where basically if you have a good idea, there's an audience out there for it, and anyone who has a good idea has their audience? Like at the SXSW, the festival, in Texas, you had a documentary about Clueless, Beyond Clueless, about teen movies. And there was an audience for that, and it got kickstarted, and it's now a big success. Do you think we've moved away from super powerful, super rich production companies, and below that, to basically there's a huge amount of resources around you that are now really easily available, and that's the new standard?
I think it just depends on what type of filmmaker you want to be. If you want to be a director, or you want to be true to sort of an art form or art house type style, then crowdfunding is definitely the way to go, and it's great, and you can get a small amount. You can do so much with a small amount these days. But if you're going a commercial route, or you want to be, whether you're going to exchange a camera or whatever, the money's still in the studio base, I think, and I don't think it will ever change really. Personally, but you might disagree.
Yeah, I kind of get the feeling that the industry is kind of polarising between, massive amounts of money put into things that the studios know are going to earn something back, and then less and less money being given to to the smaller independent films, and in the middle is kind of a no man's land, and it seems like there's a few people across. We know Gareth Edwards, who won the competition, the sci-fi competition before us. He was a bedroom warrior, and sort of did it all himself, all the special effects. He got with Vertigo Films, he pitched a couple of ideas to them, and he was able to say, look, it's not going to cost you much at all, because I'm going to be doing all the special effects at home on my computer, and they kind of went with that and churned out something brilliant, and now he's off doing Godzilla, I think. So he's really kind of crossed that divide, and Edgar Wright's another guy who we've had minimal contact with, but it's kind of is someone we look up to a lot, and he's been kind of good to us. He kind of selected us for a competition, which was really cool. And he also comes from, I guess, a collective and a collaboration, and gets noticed through his work with the people he's working with, like Simon Pegg and Nick Frost, etc. I don't know how we cross that divide, or if we need to, and hopefully we can build enough of a market for ourselves that we start finding funding somewhere. One of the ways in which I guess to survive in this world is to be working in the corporate sector, and and finding money for your own projects, and that's something that we've kind of done. And I think rather than hoping that someone's going to ring us up out of the blue and go, all right, then go for it, here's a couple $100,000, it's going to be a case of eking out an audience for ourselves, and hopefully sort of moving up the food chain.
I agree with Richard. It's what kind of filmmaker you want to be. I mean, there are 7 big movie studios, I think, in America, and they're making international films now. They're making films for a massive audience of people. So their real concern is making money, and sometimes they make a good one, and quite often they make a bad one and spend a lot of money. And it used to be that they'd spend $100 million on a massive film and $10 million on a little nice film, and they just don't do that anymore. It's not worth their while. So I think for where crowdsourcing and those other avenues really help is that they prove that there's still an audience for other kinds of films and other kinds of media, and I think I find that really encouraging. I don't know if it's an answer. I don't know if it's a pattern and a trend that will stick around forever. But I think at the moment we should all exploit it because it does exist, and it means we get to make our film and get our film seen. So I don't know if it's a trend, but I think, while the train's here, ride it.
I think they've really covered everything.
I'll hold the mic for you.
Yeah, they've covered everything. Nothing to add.
This is for Ben and Jake. Did you ever find at one point when you were writing a short film and coming to shoot it, did you ever just do anything off the bat? Like, did you ever think, oh, this bit doesn't work, how about we try this on the day and shoot it?
With this film, it was really tough because we knew it was it was quite an ambitious project, and we had 2 days to shoot it, and we were shooting with a young person, and we had a lot of sort of special effects shots. We knew we had to get, it had quite a big crew and a delicate house that we weren't allowed to damage, and so there were a lot of pressures. So our plan was plan the absolute shit out of it, so that when we came to the day, we had a really clear, on our Vimeo account you can see the animatic for the film, and it's almost shot for shot the end film. We had a really strong vision for it, and it is a very stylized film, so it works that way. We knew what we wanted it to look like, and on the day we were working with some new people we didn't know, and we wanted to make sure they shared our vision, so we made this animatic. We were really confident in it. But saying that, because we were so prepared on the day, there were lots of times where we either had to problem solve because of a technical problem, or we were feeling creative, so we sort of felt like we could play around with it within those constraints that we'd set ourselves. I wouldn't say that that's the right way to do it, or we should always do it. But we knew we only had 48 hours to film, and when you think of filming days, it's even less, isn't it? It's like 16 hours or something. So for us, it was really important, knowing the kind of characters we are, especially the two of us. We could have talked all day about one shot. We very nearly did. And so I would say yes on the right occasion, but I think you have to know what film you're making and judge it accordingly, because if you run out of time, then you're kind of screwed, right, if you don't have your film finished.
Yeah?
Do you agree?
I do agree. You set out with a plan A and maybe a plan B in case that doesn't work, and you do all the preparation you can, and then you end up going with something else, and if you create an atmosphere where people respect the chain of command but also feel relaxed enough to offer their opinions, you get some really interesting and creative problem solvings that you wouldn't have come up with on your own. So it's great to have a team around you that share that vision. And just briefly to recap on what you said, it's quite interesting. If you watch the animatic, you can see shot for shot what worked and what we had to change. And a lot of changes and maybe compromises are made during it. We ended up going for a little girl originally in the storyboards, and in the animatic you'll see it's a little boy. A lot of the lines were different, are changed, and one particular big part of the film, in my head I had this brilliant idea of this creature with a long sort of mosquito-like nose that would go in and sort of puncture people and suck out their blood. And we created the animatic to it, sat back and watched it. It was the bit where she's under the bed covers, and you just see this kind of protuberance, shall we call it, sort of sneaking up on her from behind, just looked all sorts of wrong.
It was good that we did the animatic, because we got to see that. We watched it and we were like, oh no, that's not the film we're making.
That's not the film we want to make, no. So we made those.
On that note, we're going to have to wrap up now. But everyone, please stay behind afterwards for drinks, so you can have a better chat with these guys. Thank you very much for.